Do you have a nemesis? Someone at school who you really do not get along with, no matter how hard you try? Hi, my name is Gretchen, and I want to tell you about the one person at my school who I really do not get along with. Her name is Stevie, and she always does what she can to make my life hell at school. It's fair to say that I give as good as I get, not being one to let others walk all over me. But where Stevie likes to embarrass me socially, I always like to get my own back by embarrassing her academically. Like this one time when I was sitting having my lunch, Stevie would come by and accidentally trip to spill her juice all over my lunch, ruining it. Oops, sorry. Later in the day during math class, Stevie might struggle with a problem, and I would loudly exclaim the answer as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. The answer is 42, Mr. Wilson. Our rivalry was so deep, so intense that everyone knew about it, even the teachers. They would always do what they could to keep us apart, fearing that we would break out into a full-blown fight, turning the classroom into our own personal battleground. Some of the students even thought that they could use our rivalry for their own entertainment. Josh, the arrogant and obnoxious boy in our class, once threw a house party when his parents were out of town. He invited Stevie and myself, knowing that if the pair of us were in the same room together for more than 5 minutes, all hell would break loose. Sure enough, when I went to the party, I saw Stevie standing in the corner and she saw me. Our eyes locked over the living room turned dance floor. I did my best to ignore Stevie. I got a drink and went out into the garden. Josh was one of those lucky kids in the class whose parents had a swimming pool, which was kind of the source of his arrogance. But no one was swimming that evening because it was way too cold. I got talking with some of my friends, and I cautiously assumed that I might actually be able to have some fun, even with Stevie being at the same party. But I was wrong. Stevie came marching out only after 10 minutes and started trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. Her favorite medium of mockery? My clothes. Look at that tacky handbag of yours. Where did you get it? The toy store? That got a little laugh from everyone, and I could see in their faces that this was what they were expecting. This was what they had been waiting for. Not wanting to be the butt of any joke and not wanting to give everyone the satisfaction, I turned my back on Stevie and made to leave the party. But Stevie was not done. Where do you think you're going? Stevie made to grab me, but I was walking away too fast, and she instead grabbed my handbag. Surprised, I swung around, off balance, teetered, and fell headlong into the pool. I couldn't believe my luck. Even when taking the high ground and walking away, Stevie made me look like a complete fool. Everyone at the party laughed and jeered at me as I left. And what's worse, the next day I got a cold. I know what you're thinking. How did me and Stevie get this way? Well, we weren't always such bitter enemies. Believe it or not, we used to be very close friends. But that was all the way back in nursery care. We were thick as thieves back then. We had each other's backs like Batman and Robin. The nursery staff dreaded coming into work and seeing the pair of us waiting for them with big matching grins. They knew that they were going to be put through the hoops. I remember this one time we decided to play a prank on our senior caretaker. Stevie would lay at the bottom of the small climbing frame they had. It was one of those safe for toddlers foam things. And I would go running to the nursery worker, crying my eyes out, declaring that Stevie had fallen off and hurt herself. Quick! Stevie falls! Stevie hurt! Oh no! Quick, show me where! Oh crap! Oh no! Quick! Someone call an ambulance! Surprise! Ugh. I think that was the first time I ever heard anyone swear. Needless to say, they told our parents, and we weren't allowed any playtime for a week. So where did it all go wrong? Well, it all went wrong in the 5th grade. Even now, I'm not entirely sure how things got out of hand so quickly. We both had picked lunches that our parents would prepare for us in the mornings, and we would always make a point to have the same lunches. Same PB&J, same yogurts, same juice boxes, and the same fruit. And there was the problem. One lunchtime, we took our usual seats, indulged in our usual routines and ceremonies, which was chiefly making a nuisance of ourselves. Laughing a little too loudly, harassing the cafeteria ladies, embarrassing the boys, the usual lineup of childish shenanigans. When Stevie suddenly gets very upset. The cause of her ill temper was me. Even to this day, I have no idea what set her off. Hey, that's my juice box! No way, it's my juice box. I just pulled it out of my lunch bag. Ever since that day, me and Stevie never hung out. And if we spoke, it would always be to throw out accusations and blame. or worse. Things got nasty as we went through high school together, and it's safe to say that by the time we hit 10th grade, we were bitter enemies who would go out of their way to do whatever we could to embarrass each other. I would say that I missed having her as a friend if it were not for the sheer hatred I felt overshadowing everything. The last 2 years of high school were the absolute worst. It felt like I was marching into a battlefield every time I entered the school grounds. I was always so tense and on my guard, waiting to see where Stevie would jump out from to attack me, while simultaneously devising cunning little plots to get her back. This one time while I was studying in the library, I saw the boy that I really liked. His name was Dylan, and he had the most dreamy eyes, the most perfect hair. He sat opposite me at the table and kept smiling at me. I felt for sure that he was going to ask me out or something. Yeah, it took me ages to pluck up the courage to say something to him. I would love to have told him how I felt, but I would back out at the last second and just ask him to pass a book I didn't even need. I was so embarrassed, but then it happened. He leaned over the desk to get real close so that only I could hear him. His smile made my world melt. And then his nose wrinkled. He got this look of absolute disgust, and he upped and left. Just like that. No explanation at all. I was mortified. That was when I smelt it too. Someone had let off a stink bomb, and I'll give you one guess who it could have been. I looked around and sure enough, Stevie stood a few stacks away, peering around the books, laughing at me. I was so devastated that I thought I was going to die. Despite being distracted by our war, I actually managed to graduate high school with the best grades. Valedictorian, which meant I had to give a speech at the end of the ceremony. I was sick with nerves about giving the speech. I hated talking in front of hundreds of people. A couple, I'm fine. A small handful, getting a bit tricky. But the whole school and all their collective parents? I was a nervous wreck. What if I said something stupid? Worse, what if I didn't say anything at all? What if I freeze and just gag in front of the mic? No amount of embarrassment from Stevie could match something that catastrophic. Or so I thought. I was so distracted by my approaching speech that I didn't notice what Stevie had done, and it was so obvious too. The ceremony started without a hitch. Everyone picked up their diplomas, and the principal gave his little "well done, everyone" speech, and then it was my turn. As I walked up to the stage, I put my graduation cap back on my head and splat! Shaving foam burst over my head. I gave a wail of horrific surprise as it dripped everywhere, all down my face, my arms, my legs, my clothes, my shoes. But that wasn't the worst part. A great blob of it landed on the highly polished wooden floor of the steps leading up to the highly polished wooden floor of the stage. I stepped in the nasty stuff and slid right back down the steps again. The whole school was up on their feet laughing their butts off, but I didn't hear a single one of them. Something in my arm had gone crack, and the unbelievable pain that shot through me was so intense, the whole world went numb. It was not the laughter of the other children that I could hear, the sound of my own wailing as I registered the pain in my broken arm. Suddenly, everyone had stopped laughing, and the principal and the other teachers rushed over to help me. When they saw that my arm had a rather unnatural kink in it, the gym teacher turned green and vomited right on stage. The vice principal got his phone out to call an ambulance. Later on that evening, I sat in the hospital with my arm in a cast, feeling pretty sorry for myself, but also a tiny bit relieved that I didn't have to give a speech anymore. Silver linings, am I right? My absolute worst enemy walked in with the biggest bunch of flowers and a truckload of candy and chocolate. She should be grateful for all the painkillers keeping my emotions generally numb. They didn't keep me from fantasizing about throwing my bedpan at her head, knocking her over, then jumping out of bed and beating her black and blue with it. Later, I found out that I tried to throw my bed at her. Yeah, the one I was still lying in. Clearly, I didn't get very far. Those painkillers they used were pretty potent. Oh, Gretchen, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. My prepared response, the one I had trained into my every waking moment, was to dismiss her. I really didn't want to hear it. But as Stevie apologized to me for what she had done, my heart just exploded, and we hugged like the best friends we had been once. We spent most of the evening wailing and crying and hugging and apologizing for all the stupid pranks we played on each other. I think the doctors only discharged me just to get rid of the pair of us. The next few weeks, Stevie and I talked almost constantly, making up for lost time. Now we are back on track as the terrible twosome, ready to hit college life like nothing anyone's ever seen before. I'm just sad that we missed out on friendship during early school years. And I would say to anyone who has lost a friend because of a silly argument, make up while you can. Nothing is worth losing a dear friend over.